I feel like the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be a trendsetter in Major League Baseball. Set a blueprint on how to do things right. We'll tell you about that. I already see one team trying to do that. That's next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Great to have you along. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freimund, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers. Real quick note, somebody who asked me, are we going to continue to do the afternoon ones? Once we get to the postseason, we'll drop the morning ones again. We'll be doing those late night and into the morning. But I just was this week, the Brewers kind of gliding here to the finish line and all that. The games aren't really that important, although some of you guys are treating this like it's Game 7 of the World Series. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Coming up on the show today, 96 wins and still counting, and the Brewers setting the blueprint. Jackson Chourio, I feel some of you are disappointed in him. The Reds are coming up next for the Milwaukee Brewers. I feel like the way to get things done in baseball is you got to do things right. That's the way it always is in sports. I don't feel like you have to be the most talented team all the time. You don't have to have loads of talent, but you can make up for not having MVPs all across your roster by outplaying teams, outsmarting teams, outthinking teams, out-hustling teams. And this is what's something the Milwaukee Brewers do. All right. You rarely see them commit mistakes, do stupid things. In fact, they take advantage of other teams making mistakes. I watch a lot of baseball. I watch a lot of baseball on the MLB package, and I see a lot of good teams out there that get lackadaisical, don't play hard, and don't do the right things, don't work pitch counts and all that. A lot of things that the Brewers do. Yeah, the Brewers don't have stunning talent. I saw one list out there. Somebody put together their all major league team for this year. Not one Milwaukee Brewer on it. In fact, Jazz Chisholm was the second baseman. I'm like, are you kidding? I know he's got 31 homers. He's batting 241. But have you seen a guy named Bryce Terang out there for the Milwaukee Brewers and what he's doing? I mean, my goodness. I'm going to get to Terang here in a little bit. But the Brewers, they do everything so well. They don't have, I feel, a weakness. I think the best thing that they do, well, there's a couple of things they do really good in addition to their defense. But what I really like is they go deep into pitch counts. And I think that translates to any type of year. Working pitch counts, going deep in counts. This is something I've talked about before. The Brewers will get in an 0-2 count. And then before you know it, it's 2-2 and 3-2. And the Brewers are on their way to getting that guy on base and starting a rally. How many times do the Brewers, and there's got to be some stat to this, the Brewers must lead the league in bases empty walks, drawing bases empty walks. There'll be a 1 out or 2 outs, and the opposing pitcher will walk a Brewer hitter, and the Brewers will just work that guy to death. Nickel and dynamo, fouling balls off and doing certain things. And I feel that thing translates. I think they frustrate a lot of teams out there. And I think that pays dividends. And you're at the plate and you're fouling off pitches and you're working 11 or 12 pitches. The pitch count gets high. And I feel like some of these, when you're on defense, sometimes it's tough. You're getting down on every pitch. And that Terang or Freelick is up there working the count. I can see where our defense gets frustrated and you kind of lay off. It's like, oh man, is this the pitch this guy's going to hit? And please, pitcher, get it over the plate. One of those things. So I think the Brewers do so good in working deep into the counts. I watched the Dodgers last night. Man, they're swinging at first pitches, second pitches. I watched the Reds against the Pirates, and they're struggling. Going into this podcast, they had lost the first 2 games against the Pirates. I'm watching the Reds. Bases loaded, pitcher on the mound, has no business being in the major leagues for the Pirates. They're playing anybody at this point, trying to test a few things. And they're the Reds, just first ball swing. It's like, God, work the count a little bit. Work the count. And I think that's a great philosophy that Pat Murphy has. Other teams don't do it. Other teams that, like the Dodgers, I don't feel do that. I see one team that does it. Arizona scares me in the postseason. I hope they don't get in because I've been watching them play lately, and they play a lot like us. Defense, They are smart guys, clutching up in late innings, hustle. I hope Arizona doesn't get into the postseason and keep them out. I feel good about the Brewers, all their chances against all these teams, the Phillies, the Dodgers, teams that got better records than Arizona. But Arizona, you look at them, and I'm like saying, man, they kind of play like us. The Brewers a little bit. Smart, heady baseball. I was told that about Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and then I watched them in the series against the Brewers, and I'm like, they're not like us. Brewers are definitely better than that. And when I say us, sorry about that. I mean Brewers. I look at us as us being a Brewer fans watching our favorite team, but we're all in this Brewers community together. Nonetheless, the Brewers have an ability to make other teams look stupid, really. I mean, you committed, like the other day, Dylan Cease couldn't feel the ball, threw a ball away to second base, threw a ball wildly to first base. The Brewers just pounce on teams like that. And it just kind of steamrolls a little bit. And the Brewers get things going. And I feel like if you don't do the right things against the Milwaukee Brewers, the Brewers will make you pay. I love it. That's a great intangible to have. It's a great intangible. A lot of teams that are, premier teams that's, overspend in the offseason year after year, they don't do those things. But as I mentioned in my podcast the other day, Murphy manages this team like he's coaching it. And that's two different things. What he did with Durbin in the clubhouse, in the dugout the other day, after Durbin got thrown out at third base, Murphy pulling him aside and explaining him a little ABC baseball right there. I love it. The pitching, not having Woodruff is going to be a problem in the postseason. I feel it is. I feel it's going to be a problem because I feel like that gives them one extra guy out there who if you go down, if you lose a game with Woodruff on the hill, or you lose a game with Freddie at this point, or Priester, you just got to tip your hat, right? Because the way those guys have been pitching this regular season, and if they don't pitch well in the postseason, well, that's on them. Just got to give them a little offensive support. But so I think Woody, that's going to be a big hole to replace Woody right there. Defense, all around the board. When the Brewers are in defense, Durbin over at third base. And in the offseason, I was on here saying, how are we settling on a 5'6" third baseman? Well, it turns out Durbin started in the minor leagues, but even when he was called, I was like, man, is this guy ready to play third base? Are we ready to have a guy who's 5'6" third base? The guy's an absolute bulldog over there. And, fielding balls, making plays over at third base. I still feel I'd love to see him play second base on a regular basis and move Terang to short, and we'll see what happens with Ortiz down the road. But, man, I just think Durbin has been so good. Now, Durbin at third base, Ortiz, I know we're frustrated with him offensively at times. I get it, but he is so good defensively at shortstop. I'm okay with that. Of course, I'm not okay when he's striking out with the bases loaded or bouncing into a double play. And he always, I feel like Ortiz is always, his number always comes up when there's guys on base. Always, it seems. But he just saved so many plays at shortstop. You feel good about him going into the hole at second base, into the third base hole over there, to his left or his right. You just feel so good about that. Second base, Terang is just amazing. Just amazing. First base, I feel like Vaughn has been holding his own, making some nice plays over at first base. Really. Right field, Frelick, how about it? The guy, he's going to get to everything. Center field, you got Perkins out there. Chourio with that home run saving catch the other day. Left field, Collins, Yelich. The Brewers, I feel, this might be the best defensive team of all time. It probably is. This might be their best. Last year's team was great defensively too, but this might be their best defensive team of all time. I'd be curious to see when the Stratomatic cards come out. That's like the ultimate test, right? When those Stratomatic rating cards come out next winter. But the eye test and what these guys have done defensively, great defensively, just great. So there's a lot of things to like about this Brewers team. And in addition to all that, they have the clutch gene. I feel like when you get the late innings with these guys, Terang the other day, Add that to Turang's MVP votes right there. Comes up with another big clutch hit on Wednesday, right? Clutch hit, base it up the middle. He's like Rod Carew up there. Speaking of Turang, am I giving him too much? Am I just too high on Turang? I mean, I say he should be an MVP candidate. Okay, I see this guy play every day. I see what he does. And then I see Jazz Chisholm getting on this one writer's list for his all MVP, his all MLB team. And I'm like, why is Turang? Is there any question how Turang isn't the best second baseman in baseball? I don't know. And I'm not, and you guys know me, I'm not being a homer and I'm not trying to soft sell anything, but I think Turang is just phenomenal. Every time that guy puts together a good at bat, plus he's hitting with power now. And that guy's the best second baseman in baseball. It's like I look at him and I feel he's great. Am I let me know. Am I overvaluing Turang? Do I just see too much? A smart ball player, high baseball IQ. The Brewers have a lot of these guys. That's another thing they got going for them. High baseball IQ. They're not going to do something stupid to beat themselves like a lot of these teams. I feel like the Brewers get a 4-1 lead going into the late innings like the Dodgers do, and the Dodgers bullpen will just implode. I don't feel that way about the Brewers. I mean, I've watched the Dodgers the last couple of nights blow big leads and late in games. But 96 wins. 96 wins. Ties a franchise record, 2011, 2018, and now. And 3 games to spare if they can get one against the Reds. If they don't, they don't. Somebody messaged me yesterday after they got the victory and said, God, Chuck, I feel so good they got the win. Man, I don't know. I don't put as much credence in this last week because I feel like everything is, I just want these guys to be healthy. I don't want to get anybody else hurt. I don't want Frelick banging into a wall or anything like that. I just want these guys healthy going into the postseason. So, yeah, I don't want to get swept by the Reds either. And they're coming in here with something on the line because they're battling with the Mets and now Arizona for a playoff spot, that final wild card spot. But the Brewers went, they had lost 4 or 5 going into Wednesday's game, and they got a win. And like I said yesterday, it calmed Brewers Nation down a little bit. All right, we come back. Jackson Chourio. I feel like some of you guys are a little disappointed in our center fielder. We'll get to that coming up next. And the expectations for Chourio. That's next year on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Great to have you along here on Locked On Brewers on a Thursday afternoon. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, the NFL season is here, and we are ready to go. And FanDuel is the #1 sportsbook out there. Got some NFL coming up later on tonight with Seattle and Arizona. FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff and can't miss their offer right now. Right now, at FanDuel, you bet $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can use them any way you like. FanDuel, the #1 sportsbook out there, makes every game more interesting if you got a little action on them, right? If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now. Their live betting is something special. Maybe you like the Brewers when they get down a little bit. Maybe you like the Yankees when they get down a little bit. Whatever you like, download the FanDuel app. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started. FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If that wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use on anything. Live bets, props, you name it. Right in your app, $300 with FanDuel. That's why FanDuel is the #1 sports book in America. Chuck Freimund on the #1 podcast in Brewers Nation. #1 Brewers podcast, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And by the way, it's the point where I always say, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're also on the audio platforms, every podcast platform out there. Locked On Brewers. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. If you listen to us in the audio version, hit us up on our growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Some of you guys wanted Chourio benched, and I know he was in an 0 for 20, and it was a 3 for 24 road trip with him. But, you look at the year he's had. Batted .270, 20 home runs. And he's come up with some big hits for them. And he has. But I feel like the expectations for Chourio, people wanted this guy to bat .330 hit 41 home runs to be an MVP candidate. Let's remember, the guy's still 21 years old. He had a great year last year. And I do see improvements in his. Yeah, I feel like sometimes he chases the outside pitch. He's still doing some of that stuff. But I feel like Chourio's right on track. 21 home runs. If you would have told me before the season, well, he'd have 20 home runs, bat 270, 19 stolen bases, bat in the heart of the order, and the Brewers would be the best team in baseball. Would have taken it every time because I think Chourio's a big part of this. We overlook him sometimes, and I feel like we get down on him sometimes. Chourio's going to be just fine. And he's eventually going to find that next level. He will find that next level. I feel like some of the pitching coaches, the analytics out there, they've looked at some of the holes in his swing and have taken advantage of it. I really do. I feel like some of that has happened with him. They've studied, there's the analytics today in baseball, and the tape watching and all that is so much more intense than it was years ago for these guys. And they all have to make an adjustment. And Chourio's got to make his adjustment right now, but I think he's going to be just fine. I think in center field, he's had to make an adjustment playing. I'm not making excuses, but he's had to make an adjustment playing center field, which is not easy. Took that 3-run home run away on Wednesday, but no, we shouldn't want Chourio benched. Not at all. Chourio is going to be a big part. He's got the clutch gene as well. The clutch gene. And by the way, Chad Patrick going 3 innings and 6 Ks on Wednesday further helped his resume to be on this postseason, be a big part of the postseason for the Brewers pitching, especially if they don't have Woodruff. I think Chad Patrick's going to play a big part in it. I don't think he's going to be the Game 3 starter, but I think he's going to play a big part in middle relief. Brewers finished up at 45-36, best record on the road in Major League Baseball this year. Best road record in baseball. How about that? Best road, 45-36. Considering the way the season started for them, offensively and pitching-wise in New York against the Yankees, it looked like they were going to have a brutal year. I mean, in many ways. They bounced back to have the best road record in baseball, 45-36. And yes, I don't care what Vegas says. Vegas has the Dodgers as the favorite to win the World Series. Please. That's only because they're a popular team. And I know some of you guys are going to laugh, but I'm telling you, I've watched the Dodgers on a regular basis. The Brewers are a better team. They may have Ohtani, they have Freddie Freeman, and that their bullpen stinks. The Brewers play smarter, they play harder, and they got a better manager. Well, Danny Jansen going upper deck home run on Wednesday. Very cool. All right, the Reds are coming in here next. We'll get to that before we say goodbye after this timeout. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Good to have you along here on Locked On Brewers, and Gametime is a terrific way to go if you want to get some tickets for this weekend's games. With Gametime, that's what I do. I'll go on Gametime app. And especially, the ticket prices will be dropping this weekend because the Brewers don't really have much to play for. It's fan appreciation night this weekend as well. In one of those games, I think it's a Saturday game. But Saturday, Sunday, Friday, the Brewers will be home, and Gametime. And once you get to that, inside that 2-hour window of a game, man, those ticket prices, they drop like a stone in water. And that's where you go to Gametime and get your tickets. I use Gametime. Nothing like catching a baseball game, but hey, concerts, basketball games, comedy shows, all here on Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. It's as easy as that. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off. You spend $70 in tickets, get $20 off. Maybe you spend $40 in tickets this weekend. You get $20 off. Swipe, tap, and ticket. Download the Gametime app today. And if you want to see where you're sitting, they have a nice layout there. Just punch the ticket on the seating chart where you're going to sit, and it'll show you exactly a view of the seats. But again, take advantage of this. Download the Gametime app. When you create the account, use that promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase with Gametime. All right, down the stretch we come here on Locked On Brewers. Again, starting once we get to the postseason, we'll be doing overnight Locked On Brewers. I know some of you mentioned, yeah, I like the podcast for when I get up in the morning and all that. I've been dropping these this week in the afternoon, just trying something different on how it is for people to watch these in the afternoon. And just because I drop them in the afternoon, you can still watch them the next morning, right? I did it this week because, these games this week it hasn't been live or die with the Brewers like it's been most of the all season. So I've done a lot of general podcasts. I haven't done many recaps. I don't usually do that on this podcast anyway. We talk a lot about the Milwaukee Brewers and previewing series and talk about what they need to do to get from point A to point B. And point A is where they are now. Point B, winning a World Championship. Let's start with winning a playoff series. And the Reds, man, I've been enjoying watching baseball here. All season, but watching the playoff races. And you see, it's great to have the Brewers having this division sewn up. And going into this podcast, there was still the magic number of 1 for that best record in the National League. But, man, some of these teams, you could tell they are clenching it right now. They're fighting to get in. Some of these teams are unraveling, like the Detroit Tigers. Some of these teams are free and easy, like the Cleveland Guardians. All right? Some of these teams, I feel like the Mets, I don't know what their deal is, but I wouldn't mind playing them again in the playoffs. Dodgers, hey, I'd have no fear playing the Dodgers. Although, like I said at the top, that Arizona team. The Reds come in here this weekend. Reds are struggling with the Pirates. Like I said, they lost the first 2 games in that series to Pittsburgh. I don't know what their problem is. But, man, I feel like they leave guys by the boatloads on base. They swept the 4-game series from Cincinnati, and they came back and had 2 losses to the Pirates, the worst road record in baseball. They've had big crowds in Cincinnati, and they've let the Pirates come in there. There's going to be a lot of Cincinnati fans coming in this weekend. Obviously, the Reds are trying to break that playoff drought and get into the postseason. And, I think there's going to be a lot of Reds fans there this weekend, right? A lot of Brewer fans as well. Just because this team is going to be clinching the number 1 seed in the National League doesn't mean you all aren't going to come out to the games this weekend, right? You all are going to still be there, and it's going to be fun being out there. And I'll see you out there probably on Sunday. If you see me, please, by all means, say hello. All right, that's going to do it. Locked On Brewers for Thursday. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have yourself a great Thursday, everybody.